The most important part of our indicator is the current measurement panel. Before we move on to the demonstration how we can use our indicator from the chart, we delete the line Chikou span, which is very important during the analysis, but when we do the demonstrations it can be a bit disturbing. Now, we move our indicator to a place on the chart where it will not disturb us. We make the first measurement with our instrument to see how we can interpret all the information we are given. We try an impulse that cuts the Kumo, the correction that retests the Kumo. Correctly found points A, B and C. By clicking on these points we get this result. The indicator gives us a lot of information, which we now learn to interpret correctly on the price chart with Hosoda's theories. We open our current measurement panel, and see that there are buttons divided into rows and columns. In the first row, we have 3 buttons. The first button is called the mirror. The function of this measurement is very simple and shows us how the price has behaved the same time before and after a reference point. By reference points, I mean our A, B, C. Now, we simply wonder, how much time has passed from point A to today, from point B to today and from point C to today, and here, it is from point C to today. It has been 29 days. Now let's see what happened with the price 29 days before our point C. So, we can observe that there are still 2 days left for the significant change in the direction of the price trend. It is not a particularly known induced technique. It simply refers to equivalent cycles. The same analysis can be done by taking our point B as a reference point. That is, 34 days have passed from point B until today. Now let's check how the price behaved 34 days before the point B. Also, in this case we can see that in 2 days' time, a significant change in the direction of the price trend is possible. The last measurement we do is from point A. 50 days have passed from this point to today. Let's check what happened 50 days before point A. Mirrors is an instrument that simply makes us see if by chance we are not dealing at this moment with change of direction of the price trend, according to the theory of equivalent cycles. If this does not interest us, click on the Modify button, select the Mirrors button, again Modify button and see that these measurements are hidden. Before describing other functions, I wanted to point out that measurements can be made with different colors. When we see this color, it means that it corresponds exactly to Hosoda's cycles. If the color is yellow, it means that we are close to the Hosoda cycle, 1 or 2 days of difference. If the color is white, it means that we are far from Hosoda's cycles. The second button in the first row allows us to change the width of the lines A, B and C. If I press the Modify button and change the line thickness from 2 to 5, A, B, C lines change, the thickness becoming very visible. If I change the thickness in 1, they become very thin. Original settings start with thickness 2. The third button allows us to hide the lines T1, T2, T3 and T4. If we want to see these lines again, just press the Modify button, after the H button again, and these lines will appear on the graph. Now we'll talk about the time. What does the indicator show us? What does it calculate? What does it tell us about time theory? We have two rows, with buttons on our indicator. The first row is dedicated to time theory. The first button is dedicated to hide or show all the calculations on the chart. Just press the button Modify, the yes or not button, and all the calculations appear or disappear from the chart. We can do the same with the target theory row. By pressing Modify button, yes or no, our calculations regarding the targets where the price should arrive can easily appear or disappear from the chart. The first button shows or hides all measurements between points A, B and C. If I think that these measurements do not give me any information and disturb the graph, I can simply press the Modify button, and then the Me button, and all measurements disappear from the graph. However, since it is a very important element of our strategy, we make it appear on the graph again. Just press the Modify button and then the Me button and modify again. The third button is dedicated to the measurements from point C onward. Also in this case, we can hide or show all the measurements on the chart. The measurements show in real time the distance from point A to the current price, from point B to the current price, and from point C to the current price. The fourth button is dedicated to measuring the tolerance of Hosoda cycles. It is not necessary that the impulse or correction ends on a specific day. Hosoda wrote that this can happen even day before, or a few days later. However, if someone does not need this type of signaling, simply click the Modify button, and then the Toggle button will make it disappear from the chart. The fifth button of our indicator, of the first line dedicated to time, is the button of the description T1, T2, T3 and T4, which are simply the days of the change of the direction of the price trend, according to the relation in time between points A, B and C. The last button is dedicated to T4 time, since it is a shorter period. It is a relation between a point B and C equals C and our T4. Once this time is over, it disappears immediately, or we can make it disappear with our button. This is due to the fact that we often have to deal with a very short correction of 2 or 3 candles, and after 2 or 3 candles of the response, our T4 is useless. Now let's see how we calculate these equivalent cycles T1, T2, T3, T4. As I said before, these are the relationships in time between point A, B and C. If we want to see the formulas to calculate the equivalent cycles, just click the Info button. A window appears with the formulas. For example, T1 means A, B equals B, D. And we see on the graph immediately, time between A and B equals 17 days and time between point B and T1 equals 17 days. T2 is the relationship between A, B equals C, D. If 17 days have elapsed between point A and B, from point C to day T2, 17 days have elapsed. T3 means the time between A, C, equals C, D, if 22 days have passed between points A and C. Then we need 22 days between point C and the T3 target as well. As you can see, at this very point with a day delay the price has changed direction. T4 instead refers to the relationship in time between point B and C, equals C, D. If 6 days have passed between point B and C, 6 days have passed between point C and D. As far as the theory of time on our indicator is concerned, it's all. To know all the theory well, I recommend our advanced Ichimoku course. As far as the indicator is concerned, I can add that we can easily change the color with a click if we want to make the measurements different from the previous ones, and keep both on the chart. Thanks for your attention. In the next episode I will talk about the price targets.